Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hit the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. Loads of great guests coming up, including today's guest, lifelong hammer, loads of great stories. I'm really looking forward to it. It's Michael Campbell. Hi Michael, how are you?
Hello, Russ. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. How are you? How have you been coping in this weird world we're living in at the moment?
Well, for health reasons, I had to sort of shield myself for three
Yeah.
months, and it's been going on for about 4 months now. I get everything delivered. I'm being ever so careful with myself. I can go in the garden, and of course, I have video chats and
Yeah.
lots of phone calls. So, like all of us, we have to sort of do the best we can under the circumstances. But because I'm retired now, most of my days are taken up with my group, West Ham United FC group, which I started 4 years ago. Pleased to say I've got over 12,000 members now,
Wow.
some lovely people on there, knowledgeable people, and it's gaining momentum. I'm probably gathering an average of about 80 new members a week, so I must be doing something right. And that takes up a lot of my time. It's almost a full-time job. It's addictive. I'm
Yeah.
really proud of it, and want to build on it.
Yeah, no, exactly, and you're right. I mean, yeah, I can totally hear, second the whole sort of community and stuff. I mean, this channel basically is become what it was because of the community. Not me. It's about listening to people and people being kind enough to give me their time to talk about West Ham, and yeah, it's great. And obviously, I obviously follow the West Ham the group on Facebook, your one, and yeah, it's so much good content. I love the interaction between all the members because everyone's opinion's valid, isn't it? And it's lovely to see. It's lovely to read everyone in terms of that, and that type of those type of groups have kept everyone going. While there's been no football. Obviously, now we've got football to moan about now, something new to moan about. But no, it's lovely, isn't it? Just all that interaction and just that togetherness. Doesn't matter where they are in the world, they all have West Ham in common. So it's lovely to see and lovely to read. And it
It's
must be
also
great.
nice when another admin of another West Ham group pays a nice compliment to
Yeah.
you, and obviously I do to them if they do something good. So there's no animosity or rivalry. We all respect each other, and we're all trying to do a job and create this West Ham great West Ham family that we've got. And I'm in 27 countries now. There's new countries joining, so people from abroad, and I try to regularly do an update on their groups abroad and photographs of them and make them all feel welcome and included. And I'm very lucky. I've got some really, really good members, very knowledgeable, and come up with some great ideas and of course their experiences, because in anything we do, we're only as good as the people around us. I'm fortunate. I've got some very knowledgeable people around me, and I've learned a lot from them.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, this has been as much as a journey listening to people. It's been a journey for myself listening about players that I didn't know about and experiences that I've only read about. And so it's sort of I can see exactly how it's similar parallels in terms of what we do here. No, I know, and also I mean the stuff about the more foreign based fans. That's what's really taken me by surprise because I was a bit sort of naive to it, to be honest. I mean, I knew of them, but how fanatical the foreign based fans are, even more so, I'd say, than the UK ones because they haven't got that sort of access. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but it's good fun. It's good fun.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, last year I had a film producer come on to me. I've had celebrities. I've had relatives of first team players come and say, "Can we join the site?" And I thought, I must be doing something good, because when I started it up, I did it by accident. It was even named for me, and I thought, well, now I've started, I'll have to do it better. How am I going to churn out information every day, particularly when it's a virus on and we haven't played for 3 months? I think, what are you going to do now? Put crosswords on? But I've managed to find information through the internet every day, weird and wonderful places, a newspaper in Layadella Hay or Stoke Poges, and got an article there, and I thought, oh, I could mention that. So somehow, miraculously, I've managed to keep the conveyor belt going. I hope it doesn't break down on me.
Well, there's plenty to talk about at the moment, Michael. So we're all right for the next few weeks at least, aren't we? Until whenever the season ends and stuff. But for Michael, from you, obviously, a massive West Ham fan. The question I always ask people when I get them on the channel is, why is West Ham your club? What's your story?
Well, I was born and brought up in Stratford at London E15, so sort of walking distance from the ground. None of my family were into football, but we used to play football in the street, like 500 on the 500 with a couple of coats down as the goals. And we would argue whether we think it'd gone over the crossbar or not. Um, Brian Deere, whose cousin Edna lived on the corner of my road at Bolton Road, was my sister's best friend. So we used to meet Brian regularly, a little older than me, but he used to join in with us over West Ham Park. We used to crawl in a hole through the fence rather than the long walk up to the gate. I don't know who made the hole in the fence. I hope it wasn't Brian. But he used to get us all organised, and we kind of hero worshipped him when he signed for West Ham and thought, oh, perhaps we could join Brian there one day. Then one of the neighbours said, we're going over West Ham, do you ever go over there? Well, we didn't have a lot of money, and I thought, I don't know if I can afford it, but they said, we'll take you. And they took me over there, and the first game was against Burnley. There's some really good players. I remember one of their best players was Sammy McElroy, who's an Irish, not Sammy McElroy, Jimmy McElroy. He was an Irish international, was an amazing inside forward. And I got the bug. We was on the North Bank. The little ones used to sit on like stand on a plastic milk crate to put their elbows on the wall behind the goal. The very little ones would be passed down through the crowd above your head, and you'd carefully hold this kid and make room at the front so everybody could see and find a milk crate for them, even sit them on the wall sometimes. And it was amazing then we could talk to the goalkeepers. They would turn around and have a little bit of banter with you. I remember when we played Arsenal on November the 5th boxing night, and we beat them 6-0, and I was talking to Jack Kelsey, their goalkeeper, throughout the game, and he was saying, oh God, not another one, sort of jokingly, but a bit gutted. Used to speak to Ernie Gregory quite a lot, and then I moved to Basildon when I was 12, and I found West Ham supporters there and supporters to go with. Started playing football locally, and then I got contacted by Wally St Pierre, who was the chief scout then, who invited me down to Chadwell Heath. He said, we train Tuesdays and Thursdays. Would you be interested in coming down on trial? No promises. And I said, oh yeah. And I thought, oh, I don't know what I'm going to be like there. And amazingly, and this is unbelievable, I know, there was a knock on my door on the day that I was going to be picked up, I thought, by Wally St Pierre. And my mother said, there's a man called Mr. Fenton at the door. I said, Mr. Fenton? I don't know a Mr. Fenton. It was Ted Fenton. He was in a light blue Citroen, the old type where you could lower it for motorways, that model. And I thought, oh my God, my legs went to jelly. And I thought, I'll probably be in the first team this week. I didn't know I was that good. Anyway, he drove me down there very amicably and introduced me to Ernie Gregory, who was the coach there on the day, who made me very, very welcome. The training was absolutely exhausting. My legs were like jelly by the time I came out of there. I eventually didn't get taken on by West Ham, but they wished me luck for the future and said to keep an eye on me. And I eventually had a trial at Southend and didn't make it there either. But I promised myself, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I'll be back. And I thought, you're not going to keep me away from this ground. It's become my life. I'm addicted to it. It's all I talk about. If people saw me in the street, they used to climb over walls, jump up trees, and literally run to get away from me because they said, don't ever stop and ask how he is, because he'll talk about West Ham for at least 8 hours. It'll be dark before you get home. They'll think you've been down the pub and you'll get in trouble. Just if you see him, make yourself scarce, because that's all he talks about is West Ham. So I eventually went back to West Ham for 5 seasons when Lou Macari was there. Commercially, they bought me a new car from Dagenham Motors, all signed written, which I was very, very proud of, but had to be careful what parts of London I drove it in. I'd stop at a zebra crossing in East Ham, and they would jokingly sort of get on their knees and pay homage and kiss the bonnet, and it created a lot of attention. And of course, match days I could drive into the players' car park, which I felt quite privileged. And I used to run the match day lottery. I used to bring sellers in with me from Basildon. They'd get a commission, and local people would come, and met about 20 sellers around the ground. And underneath the ground, it's like a network of tunnels that you could run between. The public can't see it, and I had a little office down there. So at half time, I had to run down to sort out all the tickets and replenish their stock and sort all the money out. And I did other commercial things there as well, but it was nice to get back there because I missed it terribly. I wanted to be part of it. Even if I was just sweeping up the forecourt, I didn't care. I just wanted to get inside those gates. And some marvellous moments when there was the pitch riots, when Bobby Tamblyn accidentally kicked the goalkeeper when he went down at his feet, and the whole pitch was covered in supporters. Laurie Leslie, when he got injured and they put him out on the wing against Arsenal on the left wing, and he played a blinder. He was absolutely amazing at what he was doing down that wing. And I got to know Bobby Ferguson when it was something Kilmarnock, who lived in Basildon temporarily, but then moved to Crenham, up near Hornchurch. And I got to know him well. Bobby Ferguson, a lovely guy, and they've had some brilliant players. So this 11 is very, very difficult because you could do 100 11s of all very, very good players. And no offence to anyone I've had to leave out, but I've had to juggle about and try and do a bit of a mix and match over the periods. But I'm also one that admires loyalty and people that stay for a long time. And we've got some of those as well that have done 400 plus appearances. And I think we've only had two players that have had two testimonials. One was Alvin Martin and the other one, Billy Bonds, because of their longevity and quite rightly so.
Yeah, no, very good, very good. No, I can. You've probably got one of the biggest spreads of players, Michael. I think we've had on the channel, so I can imagine it's been quite difficult to narrow them down to 11. But that's the fun of it, That's the whole fun of it. So let's talk about your 11 then, Michael, because I'm looking forward to this. We'll start off in goal. Who have we got in goal for the Campbell 11? Who's your keeper?
Well, I only saw him to the latter part of his career, but it was Ernie Gregory. He was also born in Stratford.
Yeah.
He made over 400 appearances for West Ham. And I don't think everybody knows just how long he was at West Ham as a player and a coach with no break at all. When I went for my trial, he was the first guy I met. He was a gentleman. But he was with West Ham over 50 years.
Wow.
Non-stop. So he spent most of his life there. So there's not many players that can say they spent 50 years with the club. And I'm not choosing him just because he spent 50 years with the club. He was a very good goalkeeper, not a household name like Peter Shilton or Gordon Banks. He was about 6'2", a big old lump. They didn't get the protection like they do today. They used to be able to shoulder barge you into the net and say, go and get away with it. But you couldn't shoulder barge him into the net. He would stand his ground. He was quite commanding and quite verbally commanding in the area, which is very important to marshal the defence. The crowds loved him. And he eventually retired in 1987. Wow. But what a wonderful servant and a great goalkeeper. To make 400 first-team appearances, you've got to be pretty good.
Gotcha. Yeah, as I said, in 50 years, man and boy, literally, or boy and man. That's incredible. You don't get that anymore, do you? Sort of that level of loyalty. That's amazing. Right, okay, we'll put Ernie Gregory in goal. I'll let you carry on, Michael. Who do you want to talk about next? It's up to you.
Okay, right back.
Yeah.
Ray Tonka Stewart, that I've had the pleasure of meeting several times. Great character, lovely guy. Yeah. Not picking him just because he's a nice guy, but we signed him in 1979 from Dundee United. Believe it or not, and most of these were from penalties. He was exceptional with penalty kicks. He hardly missed one. No. And of course, he was in the 1980 Cup final team and played 10 times for Scotland for the full side. He actually scored 70 league goals. There's not many fullbacks can say that, can they?
No. That's mental, isn't it? From fullback as well. 70 goals.
Yeah, John Bond scored a few years ago, but
yeah.
I thought he was brilliant, and you could bet your house on it that he was going to score if he was going to take a penalty. A bit like Julian Dix, it was like a cannon shot. If you stopped it, it'd probably knock you over and still go in the net. It was that hard.
No one does that anymore, though, do they, Michael? No one rifles them into they all try and place them, don't they, in the modern game? But actually, there's nothing wrong with just taking it and just hitting it as hard as you can. And even if the goalkeeper does sort of guess the right way, it's hit so hard that they can't really stop it unless they get their full body behind it.
I think there's so much money at stake these days. I think I better just side put it just inside the post, because if he doesn't move first, he's not going to be able to get to that ball quick enough. Yeah. But in them days, a bit more gung-ho. Yeah. Let's take a big, long run up. And I think when it was Ray Stewart, I'm sure the goalkeeper felt like standing to one side and thought, I don't think that we'll just have to go 1-0 down. It must have been scary. A bit like Julian Dix.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I know. But that's it. That's what we should do. I think, I just think it's a lost art, that rifling it into that. And you're probably right. It probably is money. People are more concerned. They just want to place it to make sure that at least they hit the target and they've got a chance. But it's Tong. And again, a lovely guy, as you said. Really, really nice guy. He'll be coming on the channel eventually. He was kind enough to phone me to tell me he's going to be on, but we're going to do a live.
But my left back.
Who's your left back? Sorry, Michael.
Yeah. My left back will be Noel Campbell. Saw him towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was signed from Noel Campbell. Became captain. He was signed from Cork Athletic in Ireland in 1952, and he stayed at West Ham to 1960, and then Manchester United bought him for then a club record fee, a British fee for a fullback, 27,500, and he stayed at Manchester United till 1967, 7 years, and he was Manchester United's captain and Northern Ireland's captain, and he was capped 36 times for Northern Ireland. Now, he eventually became manager of Coventry and Peterborough, and just after he had left Peterborough as a manager, I was in Peterborough doing a bit of business for West Ham, and I popped into a pub to use the loo, and it was called the New... It's called Noel Campbell. Like Noel Campbell. She said, it is Noel Campbell. I said, oh, what's she doing in here? She said, he's the licensee. And I noticed around the walls was adorned with lots of West Ham pictures and Manchester United pictures. And I went over and introduced myself, and I spent 6 hours in there.
Wow.
We had a fabulous chat, me and him, because he was a bit like Bobby Moore, the way he used to run, like an Adonis. He had style about him, even the way he ran. Jack Burkitt was a little bit like it. And I thought, what a player Noel Campbell was. He wasn't... I mean, I really admired Julian Dix as well. He had the aggression of Dix, but not quite so fierce, but a little bit more finesse with him. We'd dribble his way out of defence, look up like Bobby Moore had done, made it look effortless. And Noel Campbell had a great understanding with John Bond, comes from my neck of the woods originally, Colchester. And I really admired him, and I was gutted when he left West Ham because he was absolute class.
Yeah, sounds amazing, and that's why I love interviewing the more experienced fans, Michael, is because I never knew about Noel Campbell. So now after our call, I'm gonna go and now research about him so I can get up to speed. But no worries, we'll put Noel Campbell in. Carry on. Let's go centre halves.
We got one of the centre halves would have to be Ken Brown, who signed for West Ham in 1951. I saw him towards the end of his career. He made his debut in 1953, and he eventually got into the first team, replacing Malcolm Allison, who sadly became ill. I think he was about 26 with TB. which was very tragic because he was a good player this time from Charlton. Um, uh, his playing career was cut short temporarily at West Ham because he went into the national service, into the army from 1952 to 54. So didn't play in that period because they called him up and cut his career short. Um, he started again, he got back in the first team in season 57-58 in their promotion year under Ted Fenton. And he only missed one game in that promotion year. So he was very consistent and very safe hands there. He only played once for England. And that was against Northern Ireland. He got capped. And obviously a member of the 1964 FA Cup side and the Cup winner side the year after. And I think everybody knows he's the father of Kenny Brown.
Yeah.
But not had the pleasure of meeting him, but what a loyal servant. All them years, at the centre, back there, very commanding, very good in the air, made it all look effortless. And he was got a great understanding with Ernie Gregory. Not many mix-ups there, but he was a commanding figure. And a great man. I think he's been made a lifelong something or other, an awards night at West Ham. I think they really recognise what he's done. I think he lives in Norfolk now.
Yeah.
But what a player.
Yeah.
Don't make him like that anymore.
No, and again, the level of service the club as well. It's just incredible when you think of it. Now the modern game is so different nowadays. If you get 3 years out of a player, you've done well. It's totally different.
They weren't so mercenary in those days.
No,
Money wasn't everything. He loved the club, and the club loved him.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ken Brown's in. Who's going to partner him in centre half?
Well, Alvin Martin.
Yep.
Who started, I think, in Everton's youth team.
Yeah.
And they only offered him eventually an apprenticeship on a part-time basis, so he wasn't happy with that. He got a chance to go to West Ham. He was in West Ham's youth team from 74 to 78, and then promoted to the first team in 1978, and stayed at West Ham till 1996. Capped 17 times for England, played in the 1986 World Cup series. And in 1986, he scored a hat-trick versus Newcastle when we beat them 8-1 against 3 different goalkeepers, because their goalkeeper got injured and had an outfield player going who got injured, and then there was a third one. He scored 3 goals against them goalkeepers, which is quite unusual, and for a man playing in his position.
Yeah, exactly.
And he, along with Billy Bonds, is the only one who's had 2 long service testimonials at West Ham. I had the pleasure of meeting Alvin when I did a bit of commercial work for Southend United when he was manager there, 97 to 99. Again, a gentleman, and they loved him at Southend.
Yeah, no, you're right, utter gentleman, and one of those guys. We have a few of them who I call adopted Cockneys. You know what I mean? They weren't from around these parts, but they still live around here. And I mean, his grandson goes to the same school as my daughter in Hornchurch. So it's we still sort of he's still sort of seeing around. He still does the school fair, and stuff like that. So a lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy. Right. Okay. Who are you going to talk about next, Michael? Who are you going to go
on the left? On the left of midfield, Alan Devonshire.
Yep.
I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times. Another nice guy. Managed Braintree locally to me for a while, and I think he's at Maidenhead at the moment. Second spell there since 1995. I met him at Billericay Town when we were playing a league game against him. I showed him around the changing rooms, had a little chat with him in the clubhouse afterwards. I met him at a hotel, a West Ham night, one night as well. Had several photos taken with him. He's when he left school, he was actually a forklift driver and played part-time for Southall. And he played part-time for Southall, and West Ham spotted him And I know that money's different now,
Yeah.
but even at £5,000, it was still a very small amount of money. But nobody quite knew what a bargain they had there. It was almost unknown. But I have got a friend who played in 2 Vase finals for Billericay Town, Ricky McQueen, and he tells me he played against Alan Devonshire when he was at Southall, and he said he was the best player on the pitch by far. I wasn't surprised that West Ham played him. He was here, there, and everywhere. We just couldn't control him. So he went to West Ham, and within a week of signing from West Ham, from being a part-time player for Southall and a forklift driver, I was actually in the first team within a week of going there. Sorry, within a month of going there, not a week. I've seen him many times walk round 4 or 5 players effortlessly, no problem whatsoever. To turn on a sixpence, accelerate ever so quick, no stopping him. He was just absolutely amazing, and got to pick him. You could never forget him.
No, he's incredible. And again, because obviously I've been very, very fortunate enough to interview some players of his era, and they all talk about how fantastic he was, and it made me go back and watch YouTube videos and Robert Banks' stuff, and because he's put the season reviews on, and incredible. And I, to be honest, I didn't appreciate what they were doing on the state of the pitches they were doing the stuff on. Do you know what I mean? So like he was beating 4 men on a bog of a pitch, and it's like that's what surprises me.
There was more mud than grass most of the time.
Yeah,
most of the time there's more mud than grass. It was like a field.
Yeah, and that's what surprises me. That's what I didn't appreciate until obviously going back and look at them is we have this sort of perception of football always being played on this bowling green grass, but it wasn't, and he was still mesmeric and beating 4 men, and it's funny. I interviewed McAvenny and Cotty. They both said word for word the same thing that Alan Devonshire said to them. So they both said Dev would say, "I'll get 3 men on me, just pass it and then run, and I'll flick it behind." And they both said exactly the same thing. So obviously that was his stock answer to all these forwards. But no, an incredible man, incredible player, absolutely incredible.
Another nice guy as well, very modest about himself.
Yeah.
On the right of the midfield, I know he's a bit controversial because of the way he left the club. Dimitri Payet was exceptional. His first game, I believe, if I remember rightly, it was a cup game at Southend. And you could see how good he was going to be then. He only played 48 games and scored 11 goals, mainly from incredible free kicks that he took from all angles and all distances. But he had 18 assists as well in that time. He was definitely a set-piece specialist, and he had terrific dribbling skill. Signed from Marseille, 2015, stayed to 2017, capped 38 times for France. Shame it ended up the way it did.
Yeah.
Because he was something else. Apparently, he hasn't been quite successful since he left. But there's always 2 sides to a story. I don't want to be bitter about him. I just want to appreciate what he did for the club. And I know the supporters adored him. I'm sure most people were gutted and shocked when he left. But people have private lives and they have all sorts of private things to deal with in life. But as a player, I'm sure I'm not the only one that admired him.
No, definitely. He, for me, in my relatively short fan career compared to you, Michael, he's technically the best player I've ever seen play for West Ham live. Because I just think he was just mesmeric, and I think we were honoured to have him play for us because I don't think he was that good. He was the player that all your mates would talk about who were other teams supporters. You know what I mean? Like Tottenham or Arsenal go, "Oh, I'd love Payet." That never happened to me. Maybe Di Canio occasionally, but everyone wanted Payet in their team, and he was brilliant. You're right, he was brilliant. But you get that with those sort of mercurial players, don't you? They always have a different they're another side to them. And he joined us in the same way that he left us. Really, he sort of went on strike sort of at Marseille, and they were forced to sell him to us, kind of. Yeah, for what he gave, and obviously what he gave to the last season at the Bowling, I don't think anyone can criticise him, because he was brilliant. He was a brilliant player for us. Right, okay. Midfield, central midfield. Then Michael, who we got?
One of the two central midfield would have to be Billy Bonds.
Yeah.
And when we talk about longevity, and when we talk about why he got 2 testimonials, and why he's absolutely adored, and why so people went crazy when they named a stand after him, a bit overdue, really.
Yeah.
Not had the pleasure of meeting this man. I would love to meet him. I know we signed him from Charlton in 1967, and he was playing till 88. He actually made 799, one short of 800 appearances. If you did half that, you'd be proud.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. 21 seasons. And Ron Green would pay 50 grand for him at the time, which was a lot more than what it's worth now, but quite a reasonable fee for a player of his calibre. And he, funnily enough, he made his first appearance in the testimonial match for Ken Brown. That was his first game for West Ham. He played his first 3 seasons at right back for West Ham. Then Greenwood switched him to midfield. And then he took over the captaincy from Bobby Moore in 1974. Then he moved back in defence to play alongside Tommy Taylor for the 76-77 season. And as I say, he had 2 testimonials. He led the Hammers to the 1980 Cup final win, and he was captain against Liverpool in the League Cup final that we lost after a replay. He surpassed Bobby Moore's appearances in 1982 to 83, retired in 84. Then he came out playing, but they called him back when we had a lot of injuries, and he made a comeback into the side for 26 matches. He played past his 40th birthday. In fact, he was 41 years, 266 days playing in the top flight. That man has got to have been super fit. They say they're knackered now at 34.
Yeah.
Try nearly 42 and still running your socks off and competing with everyone. He scored 48 goals in his career, and he quite rightly won Hammer of the Year in 71, 74, 75 and 87, and was given the MBE in 1988. What a man.
What a man.
What a player.
Yeah.
No wonder they hero worship him.
Yeah, no wonder. And you're right. I mean, he won last Hammer of the Year in his first was 74, and he won again 87. So that's 13 years since his last 2 Hammers. An amazing man, and it's funny. Everyone he talked to about, even when he was manager, he was still the fittest player at the club, even when he was managing. And they used to hate doing the Hainault Forest cross country runs because Billy would be at the front. The manager was at the front.
Led by example.
Yeah, he did. An incredible man. And as you said, too, rightly deserved the honour of obviously naming the stand after him. And you could see what it meant to him when that happened. Yeah. You could see, and the fact is, Alvin did it. Alvin did the presentation, and and the man who doesn't, and it always chokes me up a little bit thinking about it, because obviously I didn't know him as a player, I knew he was a manager, but knowing he wasn't a particularly emotional person. I mean, I remember even when we went up in '92, where I saw him on the directors, and he wasn't he was happy, but there was no he was always a quite humble and quite quiet man. And to see him absolutely blub and, cried his eyes out, just knew how much it meant to him. And obviously a really emotional day that was. But
even tough guys cry.
Yeah, exactly. Even tough guys cry, exactly.
It's a bit like Julian Dick swashbuckling. It wasn't unusual to see him running around with socks rolled down, no shin pads. Didn't take many prisoners, but fair. Yeah. But really got stuck in, gave 101%. Yeah. Covered in mud every time he walked off. He covered every inch, every blade of grass. Not many players can say that.
No. I see that picture of him with his head bandaged up That
Yeah.
famous one. He's just smiling, you know. Like, it was an absolutely brilliant man. Right, okay. Bonds is in. Who's the next central midfielder then, Michael?
It's got to be the great Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
That all the years I've been connected with the club, never had the pleasure of meeting this man. Although as a schoolboy, he answered a letter from me and sent me a team picture signed by all the team. Sent me a handwritten letter and 2 match tickets. I never used the tickets,
Wow.
and I was thrilled to bits that I got a letter that he'd actually put pen to paper. His tragic end of his life. He died within a week of doing a radio broadcast at a match, and a week later he was gone. I was working at the club at the time, and I was keeping an eye on all the floral tributes. And I attended the first league game immediately after his death against Wolverhampton Wanderers, when Ron Greenwood, Jeff Hurst, and Martin Peters took the floral shirt, claret and blue shirt with 6 on the back, and carried it on the pitch. You could hear a pin drop. Full grown men sobbing in the crowd. Where I was, my complimentaries were on the Upper West, and I used to sit next to Eddie Gillam's family, the kit man, and I was sitting up there, and I was looking around me, and grown men sobbing. They were absolutely devastated. It was such a sad moment. And the chairman of Wolverhampton Wanderers walked on the pitch with the Wolverhampton Wanderers wreath and laid it on the centre circle to show their respect as well. It was a very, very This guy played for West Ham from 1958 to 74, scoring 24 goals. His first game was at home to Manchester United. I saw that game. He in total, with all the cup games, he played over 600 games for West Ham. Caps 108 times for England. I think Lampard has recently beaten it. And 90 of those as captain for England. And a great accolade that one of the world's greatest ever footballers, the Brazilian Pelé, said he's the best player he'd ever played against. You couldn't get a higher recommendation than that, could you?
No, not at all.
Just see him go down on one knee to get a ball off of somebody, go down on one knee and tackle him, scoop the ball off, stand up, look around, and do a weighted pass about 50 yards in front of you. That was Bobby Moore. He moved like a film star, immaculately dressed off the pitch. Another absolute gentleman, and what a diamond of a man to say is part of your history. I think every single West Ham supporter is absolutely thrilled and proud to have had him in our ranks.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree with everything you said, Michael. I mean, talking to some players who are around, so we interviewed Jeff Pike and people like that, and he said, you know, Bobby would literally stand at the players' entrance, and the players would be walking in, and he'd wish him all a good game. You know, like, and he didn't have to do that. His teammates, but he did it as a matter of thing.
Very grounded, Russ.
Extremely grounded. And it was players of all that era were extremely grounded. You know, a lot of them had a second job, a lot of them had, you know, market stall, and, you know, or, you know, and I just think they were just so grounded and so humble. And even, you know, talking to some of the others, and you know, they who worked with Bobby when he was at Capital and stuff like that, Capital Gold, how humble. He'd be the one making the teas and all things like that. And you're thinking, this man, you know, won the World Cup and he's making my cup of tea. An incredible man, absolutely incredible man. And yeah, no, deserved it. As you said, it's one of those things I think West Ham we have some legends, and he really is. I mean, the word legend, I think, and is bandied around far too many times for players who don't really, you know, modern day legend, but he is a legend of the game, and needs to be revered at any opportunity. And he is. I mean, obviously, you know, he's got the stand. He's got the stand named after him, and stuff at the ground, and without a doubt, so rightly so, him, Trevor, and Billy, you know, the Holy Trinity. Definitely. Right, okay, we'll put more in. Up front strikers.
This is a difficult one, particularly in that 1986 when McAvenny and Cotty was scoring for fun. I think McAvenny scored 26 that season,
Yeah.
Cotty 20. Very close those two. I've met both of them.
Yeah.
Two nice guys.
Brilliant.
I flew up to Scotland from Stansted with Frank McAvenny, had a nice chat with him and a photo taken at the airport. Right character.
Brilliant.
Sat next to him at Brentwood in a nightclub for West Ham staff dinner. He was a laugh a minute with his girlfriend Jenny Brive, the page 3 girl. He was a bit of a George Best Stringfellows type guy, but what a player and what a character. He's absolutely oozing with personality, ever so friendly. Again, very grounded, no arrogance or affectation about him. I'm Frank McAvenny. When you were talking to him, he put you on a par with him and made you feel so comfortable. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
He had 2 spells at West Ham, backwards and forwards to Celtic, a club that he loved because obviously he's Scottish. Only capped 5 times for Scotland, which was surprising.
Yes.
He's 26 goals in his debut season with Cotty when they were both on fire. In his first spell, he had 85 games for us and scored 33 goals. And then he came back and made 89 to 92, 68 appearances, only 16 goals this time. So he had 153 appearances with 49 goals. He was originally signed as an attacking midfielder, not a striker. Then he was put up front when Paul Goddard was injured to replace Paul Goddard and converted into a striker. So it's a good job they did do that because
exactly.
we might not have ended third in the league in '86, and I believe we was only 4 points behind Liverpool. We would have won the title ourselves with another 4 points. The second time we signed him, we had to pay 1.25 million for him. I saw his last game when he came on for Mitchell Thomas, when they started to have substitutes then, and he came on as a substitute and scored a hat-trick in his farewell game. It's a nice way to say goodbye. And I reminded him that on the plane. He was quite proud of that, and quite rightly so. So a great character, a great goal scorer, and what a partnership with Cotty. I feel guilty picking him and not Cotty because I've got another forward. I like Tebez as well. And I could name like a dozen centre forwards West Ham had. They weren't that successful with centre forwards, but they still had some good ones in between.
Yeah.
My most exciting memory of the next player that I'm going to mention was when Peters was swapped for Greaves. I know Greaves was sort of towards the end of his career, but when I was standing in the North Bank and looked over towards that tunnel when they played Liverpool at home, they'd already played Manchester City away, and he'd kept his record of scoring a goal on every debut that he made, and did it again against Manchester City. When they came down the tunnel, home game against Liverpool, I believe, if I remember rightly, I think it ended 1-1. When I saw Jeff Hurst walking out with Jimmy Greaves in claret and blue out the tunnel, I couldn't believe it. I got so excited. I was just jumping up and down, and I kept pinching myself and thought, is this really happening that I've got Hurst and Greaves in my club side wearing claret and blue? And they're probably going to win 20-0 today. It was only 1-1, but it was a thrill for me, as I'm sure it was lots of people to see Jimmy Greaves with Jeff Hurst, although past his best, but I have met Jimmy Greaves personally. A bit tragic what happened later on in life, but he's pulled himself together. I've met him on 3 occasions. He's not very well at the moment, but another national treasure there, Jimmy Greaves. But the next player, obviously, is and very hard to pick with people like Cotty. I had to pick Jeff Hurst.
Yeah.
Jeff Hurst, MBE. 14 years at the club, 1958 to 72. He was a very good cricketer. He played once for Essex first cricket team, and he played for their B-side quite a lot of times, and lived in Chelmsford. And I think it was a toss-up whether he played cricket or football. Unfortunately, he chose football. I've met Jeff. He made 411 appearances, scoring 180 goals. He's capped 49 times for England. He's actually in total games, first team appearances, the 411 was league games. In total, he's played 500 games for West Ham and scored in those 500 a total of 242 goals. Obviously played in the 1964 Cup final, the Cup Winners' Cup final 65, and then sold to Stoke for £80,000. But it's what a thing to accomplish, to be the only player that scored a hat trick in a World Cup final.
Yeah.
The Cup final where the captain was West Ham's Bobby Moore and the other player who scored the goal was the great Martin Peters. To have scored the only hat trick, to be a national hero, not just at West Ham, looks great for his age. Looks a lot younger than what he is, and I'm sure I speak for everybody, like Martin Peters and Bobby Moore and other players that we have, that we're very, very proud to have these people in our ranks. We've got a great history, I think, second to none, but then I'm biased.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. When you talk so knowledgeably about some of these players, you're thinking, yeah, I mean, we do have the fabric of West Ham in terms of history is undeniable, isn't it? I think you're right. We're probably biased, but that's because it's just us, isn't it? But no, yeah, and you say Sir Jeff is a lovely guy. I once had a wee next to Jeff Hurst. There we go.
Oh.
That's my claim to fame. It was me, Jeff Hurst, Sir Jeff Hurst, and Sir Clive Woodward, and I was in the middle, like some sort of, a thorn, a rose in between two thorns, so to speak.
You don't go to the toilet with just anybody, do you?
No. You know me. I hold myself and wait. It's brilliant, Michael. Man, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. I've learned so much about some players I've never really known much about. So I'm going to go and do some research on Campbell now at my lunch break. But it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. I appreciate all the effort you've got into it as well. All the stats and stuff. It really, really helps to paint a picture and why you selected the people you have. So thank you so much. And obviously, thank you for all the work you're doing with the Facebook group as well, because it's paying off. And obviously, everyone's loving all keeping the content going. So thank you. And obviously, thank you to everyone else for watching. Like, share, subscribe. If you're on Facebook, don't forget to obviously to become a member of the West Ham FC group. You'll see everyone's got 12,000 members. So if you're not, one of your mates will be anyway. So you make sure you get on. And until next time, from me and Michael, take care, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you again very, very soon. Come on, you Irons. Come on, you Irons.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Irons.